All right, let's talk about the NFL. It's just pure chaos, right? I mean, a lucky bounce, a blown call, a kick that doinks off the upright. That's what makes it so unpredictable and why we love it. But what if you could actually tame some of that chaos with pure math? Well, today we're going to dive into a system that tries to do exactly that, using nothing but data to predict every single game on the schedule. And that really gets us to the big question, doesn't it? Can a cold, calculating machine, an algorithm, consistently outsmart human intuition? You know, the gut feeling of a lifetime fan or the sharp eye of a seasoned expert? Well, we're about to find out. For week 6 of the NFL season, we're putting the data to the test. It's man versus machine. So the system we're digging into today was built by a guy named Michael Tofte Jr., and he didn't just build one prediction model. He built 4 of them, 4 totally distinct algorithms, each with its own way of looking at the game. And our job, well, it's to see what happens when these 4 digital brains are forced to make a call. When do they all agree? And more importantly, when do they start fighting with each other? Okay, so before we jump into the actual picks for this week, we've got to meet our contenders. And I really want you to think of these as more than just lines of code. They're like 4 different characters in our story, each with its own personality and its own way of thinking. And right away, this is the most important thing you need to know. These 4 algorithms are split into 2 camps. First, you've got the preseason models. Let's call them the veterans. Models A, B1, and B2. They were built back in August, using tons of historical data. They have a long-term view. Then you have algorithm C. Think of this one as the rookie. It's an in-season model, which means it's learning and changing every single week based on what's happening right now. It sees a star player get injured, or a team get surprisingly hot, and it reacts. So right there, you've got a classic showdown. The old guard's established wisdom versus the rookie's ability to adapt on the fly. And wow, this chart tells you everything you need to know about that dynamic. For the first 4 weeks of the season, those veteran preseason models were king. They were absolutely dominant. But then came week 5, and they all completely face-planted. Every single one of them failed. The only one that actually made a successful prediction? You guessed it. Algorithm C, the rookie. So the new kid on the block has the hot hand. The question is this a fluke? Or has it actually figured something out that the old vets are missing? Now, with all this potential for disagreement, the guy who built the system, Michael Tofte, has a really important piece of advice for anyone following along. He says, look, these models are going to disagree with each other. That's a guarantee. The secret to using them isn't to try and guess which one is right each week. Nope. He says the key is to choose one and just stick with it. Trust its process. In this game, consistency is king. Okay, so we've met our players, we know their backstories, but how do we keep score? How do we know if one of these algorithms actually had a good week? Well, it's not as simple as just having a winning record. There's a very specific mathematical goal they have to hit. And the system for measuring success is something the author calls gambler's math. Now, he's super clear. This is not about encouraging gambling. Not at all. It's about using the logic behind it. Basically, it means that just being right more than you're wrong isn't good enough. You have to be right often enough to actually come out ahead. It sets a really high bar, and it's a true test of whether a model is just lucky or genuinely predictive. So what is that high bar? It all boils down to one simple number: 9. In a week with 16 games, an algorithm has to get at least 9 of them right to be considered successful. That's it. It's a crystal clear benchmark. If you get 8 correct, you failed. If you get 9, you succeeded. That's the goal line. All right. We know the players, we know the rules of the game. It is time for the main event. Let's dive in and see what the algorithms are saying for week 6. Let's start with the easy ones, the no-brainers. These are the games where every single algorithm, the veterans and the rookie, are all in complete agreement. They're all singing from the exact same song sheet. This is the data at its most confident. And here you have them. Out of all the games this week, there are 5 where every single model points the same way. The predicted winners are the Broncos, the Chargers, the Colts, the Raiders, and the Green Bay Packers. So, if you're looking for the system's most confident picks of the week, these are it. But let's be honest, total agreement is kind of boring, right? The real story where all the drama is in the disagreements. This is where those different philosophies we talked about clash head-on. This is what we're calling the algorithm civil war. Okay, check this out. First up, Rams versus Ravens. Algorithm C, our rookie with the hot hand, is all in on the Rams. But look at the other side. All three of the veteran preseason models have formed a united front, and they're all picking the Ravens. I mean, this is the perfect test case, isn't it? The new adaptive model versus the old guard. And it happens again. Look at the Lions versus the Chiefs. We see the exact same pattern. Algorithm C is confidently calling for a Lions win, and once again, all three of the old-school preseason models are standing shoulder to shoulder on the other side, picking the Chiefs. This is no coincidence, folks. This is a clear, fundamental disagreement in how they see the game. So what happens when the internal conflict hits its absolute peak? Well, you get this. The Cowboys versus Panthers game. The system is split perfectly, right down the middle. 2 algorithms say Cowboys, 2 algorithms say Panthers. This chart is basically the data giving a giant shrug. It represents maximum uncertainty. The machine has absolutely no idea who to pick here. Now, it's not always about who the models pick to win. Sometimes the most interesting stuff is in how they think the game will play out. Let's look at the photo finishes, the games that every single model agrees are going to be nail-biters. Okay, get this. The Seahawks versus the Jaguars. The models are split on who wins. Algorithm C likes Seattle, the other 3 like Jacksonville. But here's the crazy part. Every single one of them predicts it's going to be a 1-point game. Think about that. They can't agree on the winner, but they are unanimous that this game is a total coin flip, decided by a single point. And we see almost the exact same thing with the Bills and the Falcons. Now, here, there's a 3-to-1 split on who the winner will be. But what is absolutely fascinating is that every single one of those models, no matter which team they picked, predicts the exact same margin of victory. 3 points. It's like the data is just screaming at us, hey, I don't know who's going to win, but I promise you it's gonna be close. Okay, so we've seen the games where everyone agrees, the games where they're at war with each other, and the ones that are going to be squeakers. So what's the big takeaway here? Let's zoom out and pull it all together. So what did we really learn today? Well, a few big things. First, even when you're using pure data, you're still going to get disagreements. There's no single right answer. Second, there's this really clear tension playing out between the new school adaptive model and the old guard historical ones. And finally, it brings us right back to that key piece of advice from the creator. When you're faced with all this conflict, the best strategy is to just pick a lane and stay in it. And so that leaves us with the final big question. The data has spoken. It's shown us where it's confident, and it's shown us where it's in a state of all-out civil war. So now the choice is yours. What do you trust more? The long-term proven track record of the veteran models? Or do you ride the wave with the rookie's hot hand? The machine has made its case. Now, it's your turn to make the call.